Hey friends, welcome to the first post of a new series, The Extended Essay Guide. I personally did my extended essay in biology, scoring an A, but this guide is applicable to anyone who is doing a science-based extended essay or internal assessment. I need to admit, I'm neither an expert nor a teacher in this subject. I am a student and I want to share what I have learned during my year and a half working on the extended essay, eventually scoring an A grade. I want to go over my extended essay in this video, hopefully giving you a summary of what my study was all about. I'll be talking about my research question, the context surrounding my extended essay, the myth and conundrum of finding a complicated experiment, whether to validate or elevate your study, the benefits of preliminary trials, and the outcome of my extended essay. In this guide, I'll review the journey I went through. I want to give perspective on what can go right and, more importantly, what may go wrong in this journey. My research aimed to answer the question, to what extent does varying concentrations of L. digitata affect the digestion of albumin and starch in an in vitro hypothyroid environment? Now let us try and understand what this actually means. Number 1, L. digitata, and 2, an in vitro hypothyroid environment. Let me break them both down. L. digitata is a popular seaweed with its high iodine concentration being extremely significant. Why is this important? I'll get to that later. The seaweed has historical references in Japanese and Russian cultures and applications to the culinary industry that persist till date. An in vitro hypothyroid environment is a bit convoluted. In vitro means in a test tube, while hypothyroid or hypothyroidism is a condition where one produces an excess of the thyroxine hormone. This phrase really means creating a solution in a test tube that has thyroxine concentrations higher than normal. Specifically, this was obtained from creating a 50 microgram per deciliter thyroxine solution, when the general concentration should be well below 26 milligrams per deciliter. This particular environment is what affects macromolecule digestion and metabolism in general. The context to my research comes from two aspects. One, my mother has hypothyroidism, the lack of the thyroxine hormone. This leads to multiple effects similar to the ones seen in the lack of metabolism. This led to my interest and understanding that the presence or lack of thyroxine affects human metabolism in a fundamental manner. This is where L. digitata and its high iodine concentration per gram comes into play. Iodine is the main atom in the thyroxine molecule. Let's conduct a thought experiment. If I was to place the primary atom of a particular molecule in a system, say system A, and was to prevent system A from synthesizing said molecule. Number 1, what would happen to the system A? And number 2, what would happen to any other system that relies on system A? The questions from this thought experiment is exactly what my study answered. In my case, system A is the thyroid gland, a gland in your throat, within which thyroxine is synthesized. The primary atom is that of iodine, while the particular molecule I refer to is thyroxine. If I was to conduct my experiment in a test tube in vitro, the thyroid gland would not be present. Hence, thyroxine could not be produced, and I would have effectively prevented the system from synthesizing the molecule. In short, I wanted to see how iodine affects the behavior of thyroxine and in turn how thyroxine affects the digestion of basic macromolecules. I was indirectly asking the question, how does iodine affect the digestion of macromolecules given a hyperthyroid condition? Before we move on, let me give you a big picture overview of what I was doing. I was seeing how the digestion of albumin and starch was affected in a hyperthyroid environment. The entire thing was done as to only vary the concentration of L. digitata that was added. If you can really look at this topic, it's really class 8 stuff. Digestion of albumin and starch is so simple and uncomplicated for an extended essay. More than the experiment, I feel that the implication drawn from and the correlation established from the experiment should be reasonably justified. And that's my first tip. Focus on reducing relationships that have not necessarily been explored before. If you do a good enough job on writing your background research, you would have had a very brief but sufficient summary of the relationships and correlations that have been explored by professionals. What do you find missing? What do you think you can bring out through your research? Now, reading a research paper can be quite daunting. I would suggest always read the abstract, introduction, and conclusion. If you really want to, then read the method. That way, it's easier to get through research papers and extract information from it. I feel that this is a more detailed aspect of the entire essay, so I'll probably cover it in another video. The fact of the matter is that you necessarily do not require thin layer chromatography or vacuum pumps or anything too fancy. What you need to focus on is getting the right balance between your ambition, the apparatus and chemicals you need, and the apparatus and chemicals you have. When you sit down to decide on a topic for your extended essay or internal assessment, especially if it's science-based, you should ask yourself if you want to validate or elevate existing literature. In my opinion, if you choose to validate, you confine yourself to a strict repository of papers. If you choose to elevate, it's almost like doing a PhD and opening up several repositories of papers that you may want to explore. An aspect that I find quite interesting about my research was that I did not validate any claim that I was making in the background research. For example, we usually say an X study shows an inhibitory effect on Y. I'll be using several concentrations of the inhibitory chemical and test them. Instead, what I did was I used the background research to derive relationships that I did not find in any other paper. In short, I built upon it, and I strongly recommend that. I'm not going to lie, I spent the first month or so in preliminary investigation. They are criminally underrated. You would not believe that even for such a simple experiment, I would have taken so long. I would request that you reserve a significant amount of your time to do preliminary investigations. What did I accomplish in my preliminary trials? Well, I found the appropriate thyroxine concentrations I should use and the most optimal way to measure amino acid and glucose concentrations. Preliminary trials gave me a very solid foundation upon which to base my extended essay and gave me nearly a page of content, which was obviously an added bonus. Through my extended essay, I determined that the digestion of starch and albumin follow a negative, exponential, and quadratic function in the presence of seaweed in a hyperthyroid condition. The equations I found out will be on the screen right now. Fair warning, I'm not a professional and I'm not giving any medical advice whatsoever. My conclusion was, if you suffer from hyperthyroidism, don't eat seaweed or you will feel very tired and the general synthesis of protein-based molecules such as enzymes would suffer. Both starch and albumin digestion is inhibited as observed from my results. Further explanation is required to confirm the reason behind it, and I'll leave that to the experts. Before we end, let me show you the table of contents for my extended essay. Through this series, I'll try and break down every aspect of this table of contents, giving you an insight into what you may need to write a brilliant essay. In the next video, I'll talk about structure and how to research the extended essay. I'll hopefully be giving you some tips and aiding you along your journey. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.